Hello there. My name is Jasom Jensai, and welcome to livestream number 7. Um, this episode, we're going to be reviewing Mandalorian episode 7. We're going to be talking about what the favorite starfighters are in all of Star Wars, and talking about what Luke's plan was to rescue Han, because it's a bit confusing what exactly he was trying to accomplish with that weird infiltration thing. So anyways, I'm gonna, nope, that's not the right button. Sorry, hang on just a second. There we go. So, yeah. So before I get to all that, I just want to say, hello there. How are you doing? Tell me in the chat. Have you seen any Star Wars movies lately? Yeah, that's a great question. I just watched Mandalorian episode 7, and I'll get to that in a second. But other than that, haven't really watched Star Wars in a while. I've been listening to audiobook. Bloodline is a great book by Claudia Gray. You should read it if you haven't, and you should read it if you have to. Anyways, so tell me in the chat. Another thing you should tell me in the chat is the answer to the question of the day. And for this episode, it is, who is the master of Rael Averross? So Rael Averross, Jedi Knight, who is actually Jedi Master. Yeah, he became a master at one point. Who trained him, basically? That's the question. If you know that, tell me in the chat, or if you're watching the rebroadcast, tell me in the comments. Well, only one person can get it, so whoever says it first gets the points. And speaking of points, it's not 1 point, it's 10 points. So this question worth 10 points. So right away, just if you know it, answer it. One thing that I have to mention is you only get one guess, because otherwise you're just gonna say a whole bunch of random people. Maybe if I had like 100 people watching it wouldn't matter, but for now, just one guess. Just one. You only get one. Also, don't look it up. I have no way to police that, but please don't look it up. That's not the way you win. Yeah. So that's the question of the day. Who is the master of Rael Averross? Let's move on to my review of The Mandalorian episode 7. Let me see if my chat is working. Nope. Okay. So Mandalorian episode 7 is the second to last one. So it's part of the finale. Finale was split into 2 episodes. Awesome finale. I really like it. But let's get into the details. So the very beginning starts with the message, which is kind of interesting. It kind of sets up the whole thing. The first thing that I thought was noteworthy was the fight with Cara Dune and the Zabrak. That was a super cool fight. Just showing that Cara Dune is tough and the Zabrak isn't, I guess. It's an interesting fighting method with the like rope connecting them, but it's like a energy rope. It's a bit confusing about what exactly its properties are, but it was cool. Also, there's a lot of great lines in this one. This one has, yeah, I'll just go through all the lines that I thought were cool. So when Cara Dune is like, well, what if it is a problem that he doesn't like? They're talking about how Grief Karga doesn't know that Cara Dune is coming. He's just expecting the Mandalorian, and she's like, well, what if it is a problem? And Mando's like, well, then it's his problem. I thought that was a great line. What else? A lot of stuff with Grief Karga was good. Oh, he's gonna eat me when Yoda, or Baby Yoda, the child, is healing Grief Karga right before he actually starts the healing process. Grief Karga's like, he's gonna eat me. That was a great line. I'll probably get to more, but yeah, as I remember them. So then after they meet up with Cara Dune, they go over to Kuil, who the moment where he's like, I have a name, that was pretty funny too. Anyways, they go over to Kuil's house, and just seeing Kuil at peace, and then seeing IG-11 reprogrammed, and Mando's reaction to him, that was a cool scene. Yeah, just Great, great acting and great directing there. Not so much on the storytelling there yet, but um, that's what we have the rest of the episode for. Um, yeah, so all that stuff on that place was cool. And then they're going to it, and they have the arm wrestling scene where Baby Yoda four strokes Cara Dune. I really like that. That was just super cool because it's showing that Baby Yoda isn't like a light side exclusive user, not naturally. He still uses the dark side a bit, as you would expect from someone untrained. Um, and it kind of makes sense. Like, he's only a baby. He sees Cara Dune and Mando arm wrestling, basically testing their strength against each other. They're competing. He wants to help Mando because he's a good kid. So that was cool to see the child to do that. And then right after that, when Cara Dune is basically accusing Queel of serving the Empire, that because that's something that she hates is people who serve the Empire. Yeah. So, and then he talks about how he was indentured like basically a slave, but he earned his freedom with the skill of his hands. He worked for his freedom. I think that was a cool scene to see him just say, "How dare you question my honor? You don't know me that well." And then, of course, to see him be like, "Well, I'll show you how you can win your freedom with the work of your hands, because I'm going to build this baby pod for the child." And he does that, and it looks pretty cool. Right. Okay, so then they arrive on Navarro, and they've got the Grief Kargas with his bounty hunter team, and they look pretty cool. I especially like the guy with the green skin. I don't know what species he is, or like what his name is or anything, but he looks pretty cool. And then yeah, so then they meet up. They have this super tense thing where Grief is like looking at the child, making sure he's like basically seeing what and who he is. They talk about who's gonna stay with the ship. That they both brought an escort, basically. And then they move on and they they just basically start heading towards the town. And they camp at night and they get attacked by the winged creatures. Again, I don't know what name they are, but they're pretty scary, I guess. I don't really like that scene that much, just because I couldn't really tell what was going on, and I don't like scenes where you don't really know what's going on. Like, if you don't know what's about to happen, sure, but if you can't tell what's going on, it's hard to feel scared. It's kind of just like, oh, well, let's wait until the end and see what the result was, because I can't see what's going on. So I think it's a bit scary to have all of the confusion and stuff, but it's also just kind of boring because you have no reaction. It's just, well, I can't tell what's going on. So yeah, I liked how um they shot at the creatures. Kind of a good reaction, and then of course Mando used his flamethrower. Also a great reaction in that situation. Um, and then of course there's the force healing afterwards, which, as I said before, he's trying to eat me is a great line, but force healing, it doesn't make sense in The Rise of Skywalker, and it doesn't make sense in The Mandalorian. That's one thing I don't really like that much. Like, I don't know why they think force healing fits with the other force powers. All the other ones are like energy based, or you can feel the surroundings around you, especially sentient things. But I don't know, healing, that it just doesn't really fit. Maybe it's a kind of like how the dark side has many abilities. Some considered to be natural. The light side is just has similar abilities. I mean, it does have force ghosts, but I feel like that's different. I don't know. Force healing confuses me. Um, I guess they kind of needed it for Grief Karga, to turn against the other bounty hunters, but I feel like they could have worked around that. So yeah, I like how Grief Karga, how he spun around and shot his bounty hunters, but I mean it kind of makes sense for Mando because he has armor. But Cara Dune for sure should have, instead of just pulling out her blaster, which would be useless if Grief Karga shot her, um, she should have like jumped to the side and then pulled out her blaster or something. And Mando should too, but he does have his armor, so I guess he might not need it, or not need the jump. But yeah, that's a cool scene. And then they go into the town and they see the scout troopers, who we're going to see in episode 8, and a scene that I kind of like somewhat. And they get in this conversation, and Grief Karga, the stormtrooper, the scout trooper, is like, hey, I'll pay you 20 credits for the helmet. And Grief Karga's like, no, this is going on my wall. And then Mando's like, it's going on your wall? And then he's like, just go with it. I like seeing, I don't know, that line just made me laugh a bit because it's just something that Grief Karga would say, and it's also something that's funny. He says a lot of things that are funny. So then they get to the client. I'm saying so then a lot. I should stop. So then they get to the client, and he starts talking about how, just like he sees the Mandalorian and is like, talking about how beautiful Beskar can be when it's molded by its original, like basically by the Mandalorians. And I think that I want to know more about the client just because he's so strange. Like he's like super interested in Mandalorian culture and super dedicated to the Empire. Like, I don't know, I think it's just how he talks. It's just, I want to know more about him. He seems like a cool character. So yeah, in the Dr. Parching would be also interesting to hear more about too, just because he seems like he'd be super important to what exactly the Empire is doing with Mando. So then, of course, Moff Gideon. I said so then again. So then Moff Gideon arrives and he just destroys everything except for the good guys. Fine. I'm sure. Why not? I mean, the good guys were probably more ready for betrayal than the bad guys. At least from the outside. So, yeah, the good guys survive, but the music as Moff Gideon is like flying down in a TIE fighter and setting down is just awesome. It's just so impactful. And then Moff Gideon's speech also is super terrifying. He's just super confident. I think that's the thing that makes him scary, is just his confidence that he will succeed. And yeah, he just inspires fear. Something that didn't inspire fear is Quill's death. That inspired a lot of sadness. All he wanted was to live on his he worked so hard to get his freedom, and all he wanted was to live at peace. But because he decided to help the child and Baby Yoda and keep them from death or slavery to the Empire, it cost him his own life, and it cost him his freedom, his peace, which is very sad, and it's a very sad way to end the episode, which is good. It's interesting how when we watch stories, we don't just watch happy stories. We also enjoy tragic stories and scary stories and a lot of different emotions. If a story is emotional, it doesn't matter what the emotion is. It's seen as a good story because it got a good emotion out of you, or a emotion out of you, not necessarily a good one, as I just said. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's something interesting about stories is that they don't necessarily have to be happy stories to be good stories. And that certainly applies to Mandalorian Episode 7, where Queel dies at the end, and the heroes are surrounded by a guy who's certain that he's not gonna fail. That being Moff Gideon, of course. So, let's move on to the next segment, which is, what is the best starfighter in the galaxy far, far away? You can probably tell by the picture. My favorite starfighter is an A-wing. They're just super fast, and I feel like that's the kind of ship I would want to fly, is one that's primary purpose is speed. Not so much like a B-wing is pretty powerful, a Y-wing pretty powerful, X-wing is pretty tough, but an A-wing is fast. I wouldn't want something quite as well, I would want something as fast as a TIE fighter. I wouldn't want something quite as unprotected as a TIE fighter. They're fast and they're maneuverable, but they're not as protected. It's harder to, or it's easier to break them. They don't have any shields. So tell me in the chat, what's your favorite starfighter? Oh boy. Did I do something? I don't know. Looks what? Okay. I think it's good. Yeah, so tell me in the chat, what's your favorite kind of starfighter? Is it an A-wing? Is it X-wing? Is it Naboo's starfighter? Those ones are pretty cool. Is it vulture droids? Actually, I can't fly a vulture droid, but vulture droids are actually a really cool starfighter in my opinion. Like, just they're robotically controlled. I think robotics in Star Wars is like the most interesting kind of combat other than force combat for me. I just find that all very interesting. Like in Phoenix Squadron, is that whatever the Battlefront 2 characters are, they have the book about them. Reading like from Del Meeko's point of view was always my favorite because he's the engineer. So yeah, vulture droids are pretty cool. Another one that's super cool, but I wouldn't want to fly is the Jedi starfighters. They again, they're faster and they're just higher quality. The problem is they're made for Jedi, so they don't have as much sensors. The other problem with them is their hyperspace rings, which I guess is better than a TIE fighter, but not as good as like an A-wing or an X-wing. But that's Starfighter. Ships are different. I suppose, yeah, we can get into ships a different time. I've got a long time to do these topics. Yeah, A-wing is my favorite. What's your favorite? What about the sequels? Do they have new ones? They have those bombers. They've got Kylo's tie looks pretty cool. I don't know that much about it though. What else? They have, they have newer designs of X-wings, but they're not much different. Same for all the other things except for Y-wings and B-wings. All the things about bombers, they decided to make different bombers, which are, they're fine, but they serve a different purpose than the other bombers. What about on Exegol? They've got like those triangle TIE fighters, I think. I don't remember what they're called. They look pretty cool. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, the Geonosian starfighters. Those are interesting. Anyways, let's move on to the next segment, which is Luke's plan on Tatooine. So, I don't know if this is a good picture demonstrating it, but basically, Luke's plan is just incredibly weird. Like, what is he trying to, why do they all infiltrate at different times and they don't really coordinate, and half of them go in as prisoners? So let's just look at everything that happens. So first, Lando sneaks in and he's a guard. Well, I was going to write stuff down, but my pen is not working, so I need to scribble a bunch. Yeah, so Lando goes in and he's a guard. We don't know how he did it, but he did it. And he's now inside at Jabba's palace, guarding him. So that's a pretty good position to be in. Chewbacca, he starts inside, right? No, he doesn't. Han Solo starts inside. Chewbacca comes in with Leia. But then after Lando goes inside, who does C-3PO say came with Lando? Was it Chewie? I don't remember. I think it's just Lando that's inside. C-3PO and R2-D2, they go and they give themselves to Jabba as a present. I don't know what that accomplishes. What did that accomplish? I mean, R2-D2 turned off the lights, I suppose. Then there's Luke goes in. Or no. Then Leia goes in with Chewie. And they basically give Chewie as a prisoner in exchange for gaining some trust for Leia. Which ultimately fails. But then if they have Luke go in, and he tries to Jedi mind trick them, and that doesn't work. Then he fights a Rancor, and they all get sent to the Sarlacc pit. I don't know how Luke would have anticipated that. So let's just assume he never anticipated going to the Sarlacc pit. So he goes in and he tries to Jedi mind trick Jabba. He didn't think that if he thought that would work, he would have just done that from the beginning. So he must have needed them to get inside. Where was R2-D2? He was on the sail barge. That's it. That's his only job. I suppose Luke couldn't have anticipated that. I guess Luke's plan was probably just get as many people in there as possible and then go in and try and kill Jabba. Because, I mean, he didn't know about the Rancor. He didn't know about the Sarlacc pit. He just went in there and tried to mind trick Jabba, then tried to shoot Jabba, but it didn't work. So, I guess that's his plan, but that's a pretty lame plan, because it's kind of just on specific. But I suppose it's hard to predict what a Hutt is going to do. So what else could it have been if he assumed that they were going to go to the Sarlacc pit? It couldn't have been that, though, because he fought back. He would have just said, okay, fine, you arrest me, whatever, and then gone to the Sarlacc pit. So, if Leia had rescued Han, I'm pretty sure that was her intent. She seemed pretty surprised when Jabba found out. Then R2-D2 and C-3PO and Lando, their entire job would be pointless. Especially R2-D2 and C-3PO. Because they're not going to be able to escape. Lando's going to be able to get out. He's not a prisoner. But C-3PO and R2-D2 undoubtedly have restraining bolts, people watching them. They're not going to escape without something big happening. So, and they didn't accomplish much in going in other than, like I said earlier, R2-D2 shut off the lights, and that's right before Leia kills Jabba in the sail barge where Jabba's sitting. He just hits something and it turns off the lights. I think so. I haven't watched it. I probably should have watched it first before this, but I didn't. I'm just going off of memory. So Luke's plan is pretty weird. I don't understand. If you've got an idea, you should tell me in the chat or in the comments. Either one works. It's just chat is faster because it's right there. Assuming it's working. Because last time people were chatting and I wasn't seeing it. I think that's happening again. But I've refreshed like 3 times. Weird. So it says there's 2 people watching. So there should be 1 person other than me watching. So if you're watching, I'd love it if you would chat so I would know if the chat is actually working or if I'm just not getting your chats at all. So I'm kind of out of ideas for what Luke's plan is. Like the specifics of it. Like when we did Maul's plan, I was to like, oh, he would have his Mandalorians take on Anakin, and he would take on Kenobi, and all like the specifics of it. This one, I'm kind of like, well, I guess he just threw a bunch of people at Jabba and hoped they killed him, or rescued Han. No, they'd have to kill him. It's so hard. I don't know. Maybe Luke had like a vision similar to how Ezra came up with the space whale plan. Or did he have a vision? I think he was saying like it was inevitable or something. Or this was just one of the options that he foresaw. Maybe he just had a vision and was like, this is the way to go, and here are all the contingencies we should have based on events that might go wrong. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like Leia and Chewie's plan conflicts with Luke's plan for 3PO and R2. Because Leia's plan, Leia and Chewie, that is all about sneaking in and just extracting Han Solo. But if they successfully did that, then Chewie, R2D2, C3PO, they would all be trapped in there with no way to get out. Maybe that was where Mando comes in. So, oh, okay, I think I know what it is. So, R2D2 and C3PO go in for no reason. Lando goes in earlier before that. Then, Leia pretends to be a bounty hunter who brings Chewbacca in, gets a reward, and then sneaks around at night and rescues Han Solo. Then Luke goes in and distracts everyone, while Lando sneaks off and rescues Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2-D2. Though I gotta say, it would be much easier if they just did he just rescued Chewbacca. Because C-3PO especially would be very difficult to rescue, I would think. So that's what I think Luke's plan is. But again, I'm not really sure what it is. It seems kind of convoluted. And actually, the reason I thought of this was how it should have ended. Their issue was Leia just rolls a bunch of thermal detonators in while everyone's sleeping, which I guess would probably work. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question for George Lucas. I wonder if he knows the answer or if it was just like, let's just have this happen. I don't know. Oh, I got a chat. Joe Dorfler made it. Hello there, Joe Dorfler. How are you? Yeah, so I'm guessing you just got here. So I'll just explain kind of what I've been doing is talking about Luke's plan in Return of the Jedi to rescue Han. So basically the conclusion I came to after a long time of considering every possibility that Luke maybe could have thought of as a good plan, because that plan seemed a bit off. So this is what the plan is. Lando goes in to start, and he's there. He's waiting for his part. Then, for some reason, which I don't really understand, R2-D2 and C-3PO are given to Jabba as gifts. I mean, they say it's to be in exchange for Han Solo, but I don't think Luke would be dumb enough to think that would work. So, now they're prisoners, along with Han Solo, and Lando's a guard. Then they send in Leia, disguised as a bounty hunter, and Chewie. Chewie gets captured, but Leia sneaks in at night and, like, while everyone's asleep, and rescues Han Solo. Then Luke comes in and distracts everyone while Lando frees Chewbacca and R2-D2, and C-3PO. And C-3PO seems a bit hard to rescue because he'd probably be talking the entire time and walking super slow. So I don't know why R2D2 and C3PO got sent inside, especially because they didn't really accomplish much. But I guess it's all part of the plan. So yeah, that's all the topics I have for today. A reminder, if you know the answer to the question of the stream, or if you've got a better name for question of the stream, because that's a dumb name, if you can answer who is the master of Rail Avaros, you get 10 points. Like, 10 points. You want 10 points, right? Super cool. I wish I got 10 points, but I only get to ask questions, so I never get points. And that's only to the first person, and you only get one guess. So whoever's the first person gets 10 points. And that's for my other streams too. If you go back to my starting in stream number 5, so this is you can go to stream 5, stream 6, and stream 7. And if you know the answer to those 3 questions, you can get 30 points. That's 3 times 10 points. Super awesome. But I think that's all I've got to say for today. Unless if any of you has an idea of something that you would want me to talk about, tell me in the chat and I'd love to discuss it. These streams are, like, I've got my topics, but the main idea is just a time to talk Star Wars with the community, to hang out with you guys, and just have fun talking Star Wars, having an interesting conversation. So there's a bit of, I don't know what it's called, like stream lag or something. So I'll say a comment, and then if you chat immediately, I'll get the chat a little bit later. So I'm kind of just buying time to give you time to ask any questions, in case, because I'm going to end the stream soon. Unless, of course, like I said, if you've got any questions to ask or something to just discuss, like a statement or a scene that you want to say is cool, and then I can like talk about why it's cool or why it's not cool if I don't like it. Yeah. So I think with that, it's time to end the stream. So thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.